Hi and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about the LDX Rally. I want to give you an overview of what it is and how I did. I think this is going to be a two-part series. So the first one will be explaining more of what the rally is and how I approached it. And then the second half will be the route I took, why I did what I did, and how I scored. So if you want to learn more about that, stick around.
Dang, this looks like a cliff. I mean, this is a cliff. All right, I can do it. I can do it. Hang on, let me figure out which way we go. I think we stay, I don't know. Yeah, no big deal.
Okay, we departed Cheyenne, Wyoming about noon. I headed across, went through Wyoming, most of Nebraska, got my first two targets here, went south into Kansas, and then east again. First three states were full of wind. Into Kansas City, from here I went south down to the sports complex, and then north back up again. My goal was to push all the way through the night. It was 2 or 3 a.m. here. I was feeling pretty good until the skies opened up and it drenched me in through here. Somewhere around Kansas City, I stopped and had a breakfast sandwich at a whatever gas station. That was probably a mistake. You should always eat food that your normal routine allows. So headed up through here, I was just getting worse and worse. I just really wasn't feeling well. So once a day you have to take a meal break. So I decided to take my meal break. Took my meal break, still didn't feel good. Decided I'd try to push on. I continued a little more. I was trying to get to Des Moines. I think I made it to Des Moines, and at that point I didn't think I could go much further. So I was going to take my rest break. At that point, I stopped at a truck stop to get a receipt to start my rest break, and ended up getting sick pretty bad in the parking lot. After purging myself 4 really good times, I instantly felt better. So, washed my face, offered to clean up the parking lot, and I headed out. Up through Minneapolis, and somewhere right around here, Stevens Point is where I called it a day. My first day was about 1,700 miles of ride, so I felt pretty good with that. Took a 3-hour power nap and then continued. My goal was to get out early and make it through Chicago before traffic. I was reminded by my wife that it was Sunday, so I should have been okay. So I did well there. Cruised down into Indianapolis, got that, and then went across into Ohio, took a lunch break in here, and then continued up into New York for the evening. It got a little sketchy, some of these places. Rochester area, there was a couple places. I continued on, and I did make it to the East Coast, and I took a 3-hour power nap just in a roadside rest. I went all the way up in here into Maine, and then came back down through and finished up in State College, Pennsylvania. Now this was the end of my leg 1, and it is about 3,900 miles. I felt pretty good with this. Again, the unknown for me was the checkpoint. I went into scoring, and I took my score sheet with me. They give me a list of locations I'd gone to. I wasn't denied any points. However, I was docked 1,000 points for speeding. They showed me exactly where and asked me if there was a reason. Obviously, I had no reason. It was how they called excessive speeding, and I'm not going to disagree with it. So I was docked 1,000 points. Don't know where I fell at that point. I had about 58,000 points, just over 58,000 points. So not knowing where everyone else is, you don't know. So at that point, I went back to my hotel and started a power nap. Not having any clothes meant hang out in my room the rest of the night. So the host hotel, which was 3/10 of a mile down the street, did have dinner for us, but since I didn't have casual clothes, I wasn't going to walk down there, and I wasn't going to don all my riding gear just to go down there. So I had a bag of pretzels and a power bar and went to sleep. Okay, leg 2 of the LDX Rally. We start off again with a 4:30 a.m. riders meeting. Again, because I didn't have casual clothes, I want to keep reminding that, I had to show up in riding gear. My hotel was 3/10 of a mile, not a big deal, so I ride to the hotel that we're having the riders meeting, go in, again we're greeted with our rally staff, and they hand out the book for leg 2. Go over a couple of specific rules, and this time they did make it very clear that speeding will cost you points. So after me giving the rules and the little changes for leg 2, back to our rooms and plan we go. Now this time, once we're satisfied with our route and our planning, we can leave whenever we want. So back to my room and start to plan. And again, I'm going to say it took me 2 hours to get a solid plan. My original route was going to be about 3,600 miles and net me some good points. Let me show you my route and we'll talk about that. Alright, so we started here in State College, Pennsylvania, and pretty quickly got to this location, and somewhere in here we ran into Gettysburg Cairn. That's another story, but this is where I made my first mistake. There was a lot of points in the DC area, and the traffic was wild. It started off putting me behind. Because I got sick a couple days prior, I hadn't filled up my water jug again. I wasn't sure if it was the water that I'd used or food or whatnot. So I continued on. And once I cleared this traffic, I was hot. I wasn't sure. I was behind, just second guessing everything. Somewhere in here, I decided to regroup. I pulled into a truck stop. I got some water, got a little bit of food. And then I felt, okay, let's take off again. So I take off, this time going the wrong way on the interstate. I'm arguing with my GPS. It's telling me to turn around, I'm not. 20 miles later, frustrated again, and definitely going the wrong way. So, turn around again. Here we go. Down into Richmond, nothing real big and important there, no issues. And now I know I've got to make some time, so I'm cruising. Get through here feeling pretty good. Started down in here to Charlotte and over into Tennessee. In Tennessee, I was planning or thinking maybe I could get to my brother's house and nap on his couch for a couple hours. When you plan the routes this quick, you kind of look at points and targets, but you really don't have a true understanding of where you're going, or I should say I didn't. So just a few miles short of where my brother lives in Johnson City, Tennessee, I turned and went into Kentucky. And it was probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was a really good area. Well, I decided after getting a bonus at the LMU University that I would take a nap right there. So I took a nap right next to the statue, woken up with a security guard looking at me, no big deal, explained what I was doing, and off I went. This was a pretty good area. Now, the one thing about this route I need to explain is there was a big bonus combination group from one here, one up here on an island, and then the third up here. So it was going to net me a lot of points and it was worth it. But this ferry was very unknown for me, and I took off. I figured that on my lunch breaks, I could figure out the ferry schedule. On day 2, I realized I thought I was going to get to this point pretty late. I got this one in South Chicago area pretty good, and as I started up this route, it was just, I was running out of time. So I didn't make the last ferry going into Mackinac Island, and that hurt me. So at this point, I had to make a decision. I could either not get this bonus and lose all the bonus points for the combination, which was like 20,000 points. I could skip that and keep going, or I could turn around and come back. If I turned around and came back, I was going to end up running 500-ish miles without ever collecting a point. And from this point, it was about 2,000 miles back to the start with the route that I had planned. So I decided to take a rest break, checked into a hotel this time. I had an 8-hour rest break to take, and I looked at my route. I deleted some stops that I wanted to make, but it allowed me to grab the combinations and then continue on. So the next morning I made the ferry and then crossed, got this one, and head back. Making the adjustments that I make allowed me to shorten the distance between here and the checkpoint to almost 1,500 miles. So I had 24 hours to make 1,500 miles. Truly not undoable, but definitely I was tired, and it's a long ride. So I started on my trip. It worked well. I was glad for the exercise of making adjustments on the fly, so to speak. I hadn't really done that. I played with GPS more, deleting stops and some of those things, and ran through the course of that night and mastered the art of sleeping on my bike. Literally sit on the seat, feet on highway pegs, head back on top box, and I could get a good 20 minutes. Made me all the way through somewhere in Nebraska somewhere. I got Chef Boiler D. That was pretty cool. And then finished up in Cheyenne. I arrived about 9:30ish. There was a couple spots right around Cheyenne I could have went and got, but to be honest, man, I was pretty wiped. It was all I could do. So I felt pretty good. They told me my points, and again, points don't mean anything unless you know what everyone else's points is. So checked in, went to scoring. That was all great. Had several hours. Our banquet wasn't until 7 p.m. So got a power nap, unloaded all my stuff, and prepped for the ride home. Went to the banquet, and they put on a great showing. Had a good meal, and I ended up 4th place. Ended up 14th place. That was a surprise to me. I did a lot better than I thought. A little disappointed. If I would have kept my original route and made that last ferry, I may have squeaked around the top 10, but coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? So I was presented with an iron butt certificate for 7,000 miles in 7 days. That was pretty cool. And I have a finisher's plaque. So I thought that was very nice. Everyone that finished this rally got this plaque. Now, understand finishing. You could have left Cheyenne, Wyoming, and rode straight across the interstate to State College. But they told us you had to score a minimum of, we should have been on track for 32,000 points going into State College. At the riders meeting in State College, they told us to be a finisher, you had to score a minimum of 100,000 points. So I scored right at 218,000 points, and I think the winner scored 300. There was 47 of us, I think, that finished, scored enough points to finish. There was a few mechanicals and a few people that dropped for other reasons, I'm not sure. But you had to score a minimum of 100 or 100,000 points to be a finisher. So I was very pleased with how I finished and where I finished, and very eager for the next one. Paul Tong and his rally staff really put on a good show for us. The rally was very professional, well done. The rally book was top notch. It's color, it's great. The staff was always there 24 hours a day if you needed a issue resolved. I had one I was concerned. Meal breaks. You got to take a 45-minute meal break each day. And I was going by the clock on my bike, and it was set for Central Time. Well, I was in East Coast time. So I'm looking at the bike, and it says it's 10 o'clock. And I knew as long as I started my meal by 11 p.m., I was going to be okay. So middle of taking my lunch break, I realized it says it's already 11 p.m. and I was going to be in the next day. So quick call to my scorer, and Nancy made it clear I was okay. So the rally staff, really good. So I think that's about it. 7,300 miles is what I ended up finishing in 7 days. Really good time. So hope you got something out of the video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell to be notified next time a video comes out. Alright? Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Be safe.